Hey everybody, and happy Halloween! This is the 8th Halloween film I'm reviewing on this channel, Halloween Resurrection. But before we get to this movie, I want to advertise my podcast that should be debuting later today. We recorded one for John Carpenter's Halloween. Me and 3 buddies deep dive into that film, and I encourage you to watch. I will link it up here once it goes live. Check that out. But moving into Halloween Resurrection. This is the follow-up to Halloween H2O, which, for me, course-corrected this franchise. And this undoes that course correction. I, a few months ago, reviewed I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and in that I said that if Scream is responsible for bringing back the slasher film, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is the first chink in the armor that is really the thing that kind of is in equal parts to Scream responsible for killing it again. This is the other component to that. This is the absolute death of the slasher that was revived by Scream. This movie is awful. And that's saying something, because this is in the Halloween franchise, and it's directed by Rick Rosenthal, who directed Halloween 2, which is a lot of people's favorite Halloween movie for some reason. However, my least favorite to this point, and now he has dethroned himself. This movie is atrocious. It starts the first 15-20 minutes or so, follows Laurie Strode in a mental institution, having extreme guilt over killing an innocent man. Yes, she did not behead Michael Myers at the previous film. No. Instead, she beheaded a paramedic that Michael Myers squeezed the neck so hard he was unable to speak and put his own mask on that paramedic. So when he was reaching to Laurie, he was actually just a paramedic who was trying to actually reach for help, and Laurie beheaded him. She gets so distraught about that, she goes to an institution. But you find out that she takes constant strolls to the top of the institution. This is to lead you to believe that she is thinking of offing herself. And no, it's really that she has been planning this whole time, the last 4 years, that knowing that Michael is still out there, she'll be ready for him. So she springs a trap when inevitably he does show up, and they intertwine, but he kills her and she falls to her death. Bum, bum, bum. Goodbye, Jamie Lee Curtis. Goodbye, Laurie Strode. An admirable death, I guess. At least you did it on screen this time, as opposed to being killed off screen between Halloweens 2, 3, and 4. It's a pretty miserable death too. Like it's so undynamic. And that said, the one bit of credit I will give this movie, when I watched Halloween H2O, to me that was enough said. There wasn't any reason to go beyond that. It was Mustafa Akkad who was like, no, we can't kill Michael Myers. I will only greenlight this if there's a way that he survived. So Kevin Williamson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and the scriptwriter sat down and came up with something. And I believe it was Kevin Williamson that came up with this idea. The one nugget of interesting thought that was put into the movie was Michael didn't die, he choked out a paramedic, switched hats, and I was waiting in that, when I'd heard that there was going to be a Halloween 8, I was like, well, how are they going to revive Michael? He was clearly beheaded. And when I first put this movie on, I was sort of surprised, tickled, and I was convinced maybe I might be watching a decent movie. A couple minutes later, Laurie Strode died, which I surmised she probably would, being that she was in very minimal amounts of screen time in the trailers that launched. But yeah, and that's just something that, generally speaking, bugs me. Killing off a survivor in the beginning of your next movie for no other reason than to just kind of do it and you don't really want to do anything. And my understanding, this was Jamie Lee Curtis. She agreed to H2O because she wanted to celebrate the franchise, but when they proposed the ending to Mustafa Akkad, she said in that movie, Making Seven, that if they do it, they're going to have to kill her off too. And so he had lined her up to be in this one, but she was like, I don't want to be the main character, just kill me off in the opening scene. So that's a her thing, but it's still something. I would have rather them not even touched her and just had him go back into hiding. They could have even said, like, he didn't behead her, and they did that and maybe suggested she's in an institution or she's back in hiding. You don't even need to fuck around with Laurie Strode or Jamie Lee Curtis. You did several movies without her. Like, why even bother? But no, they kill her off in the beginning of this film, and it really rubs me the wrong way. It could have been saved if the rest of the movie had been good. And spoiler alert, it is not. This is a film that's capitalizing on two trends that were happening in the filmic landscape at the time. The first one being reality television in 1998, 1999 took the world by storm with Survivor and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and reality shows just started popping up left and right with Big Brother and all these other things. So this taps into that. There is a TV web series being shown on Halloween night of people who are being paid to see if they can survive a night in the Myers house. Nobody's been killed in the Myers house since 1963 in this film's chronology, so I don't even know why that would be a thing, but whatever. It gives a reason for you to do that. Why it wasn't like the house where 3 people were killed in the first Halloween, like little Lindsay Wallace's house, is beyond me. But whatever, I'm over it. I'm not over it, but whatever. The other thing that this film is capitalizing on is the found footage trend launched again in 1999 by the Blair Witch Project. And you started seeing other kind of Blair Witch light films coming out around this time, and they kind of do that. They do a soft found footage movie with Michael Myers where everybody has like a camera attached to their head, and you see several minutes of screen time with these characters really poorly cinematographing their, or poorly photographing their surroundings in poorly lit, dingy space. But yeah, the main thesis of this film, or not thesis, the main operating structure of this film falls apart too when you come to think about, alright, so this is a house that's supposedly dilapidated. We find out that Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks have staged the house to look as dingy and dirty as it is. However, we also know that in the very first Halloween film, that Laurie Strode's father is selling that house. He's like a realtor, right? And the very first time you see Laurie Strode, it's her delivering keys to that house because they're going to do a showing of it later that day, presumably. And that's something that never really gets touched on again, but if that house is being shown, it's probably show ready, and when you go into it later with Sam Loomis and the detective, Sheriff Brackett, the walls that have like peeling paint and stuff like that, but it's not like just completely torn apart. You would believe that probably somebody sold that house or bought that house, especially after the murders in Haddonfield. You'd think somebody would have capitalized on this and sold it as like a weekly Halloween haunted house or something like that to capitalize on this town's tragedy. I'm overthinking it. They underthought it. Anyway, the town, or the house is made to look like dilapidated, and that you're going to gain insight into who Michael Myers is by finding his belongings and stuff like that, as if the police wouldn't have raided it from front to back. Again, all of this is staged and planted because they're making reality TV show. They're making Dangertainment. Let's talk about Busta Rhymes. He's in this film, and at one point he does karate kick Michael Myers through a window while going, "Yeah! Hi-ya!" Like he's a fucking Power Ranger. And it must have been put in Busta Rhymes' contract or something that he have to come off more BA than Michael Myers, because repeatedly throughout this film he's making Michael Myers kind of look like a fop, and that's just devastating. I was talking to one of the people actually in my podcast that you can watch later today, plug again, about this specific watch, and he said he kind of enjoyed it because it's so bad. I can't bring myself to do that because I have a conscience. Anyway, I was explaining to my bartender my thoughts on this film, and what occurred to me around midpoint of this movie is that if you're watching this, just take any moment of this film and put it next to a scene from the first movie. At no point can you see how these two things relate. Like, it just seems so far gone from what this franchise even started with that the artifice is just, it breaks this movie and renders it relatively unwatchable. I think the final girl in this is a lovely actress. I've seen her in other things, and I think she can act, and she's all right in this. But the characters are largely awful. Katee Sackhoff is like so obnoxious. The dude from American Pie is also Thomas Ian Nicholas. Is that his name? He's awful. And the only one that I thought was even remotely interesting or compelling is the one that they strip down and give us a weird random soft sex scene with that one Chad. And like, why? I didn't like this movie, guys. It has a really uncompelling ending. And to think that this is like the end of yet another timeline of Halloween films. Like, they really do just kind of putter out, right? Like, for me, the first one should stand alone. Yes, we got Halloween 2, and I accept Halloween 2 because we got better movies later. The Thorn trilogy kind of putters out on its own, though I think that the sixth movie is the most watchable of those three Thorn movies. It's also probably inarguably the worst of the three. I just really happen to like how it looks and the lead actress in it, which makes it more watchable, but the movie itself is pretty awful. Then you got renovated again, a new sense of energy surging through the film with H2O here, only for this one to completely collapse any goodwill that movie had brought back to it. And it's terrible. Michael Myers looks bad in this movie. He looked bad in the previous one, but it was written well enough that I was able to forgive that. This is not written well, and it's just, it's frustrating. If you watched my review for Halloween 2, I'll link it somewhere around here, you saw me give props to the director because I didn't lay a lot of the blame at his hands because John Carpenter took it out of his hands to rework and retool that movie. Rick Rosenthal worked really, really hard to make Halloween 2 feel and look like Halloween 1. John Carpenter overrode him, reshot stuff, re-edited stuff, and added in copious amounts of violence that weren't originally there to make it compete with Friday the 13th, which was the new big thing. And so that made it so dissimilar to the first movie. I gave compliments to Rosenthal for being able to bring it back to what that first movie is. And to look at this one now, I really can't give him any props because there is no tangible quality between this movie and H2O or Halloween 2 or the original Halloween. There's no connective tissue. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. nothing about this is right. I'm not alone in thinking that this is arguably the worst or one of the worst Halloween films, and I'd love to hear what you think the actual worst Halloween film is. At this point in my rewatch, having gone 8 movies in, this is my least favorite one. Now, we have a couple of contenders coming up on the horizon over the next couple of years with the 2 remakes and the 3 David Gordon Green films. There's an installment in each of those series that I think could make for a contender for worst. We will see where that lands when I ultimately do my ranking video years down the line. However, you can hear my thoughts on the original Halloween here later today at 1 p.m. And I encourage you to check that out. And I am looking forward to talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween when it's halfway to Halloween this coming April 30th. So with that on the horizon, I look forward to hearing from you guys what you think of this film in the comment area down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace. And don't forget to watch my podcast.